Welcome back to the channel where in this video we're wrapping up Project E39. If you're just now joining us, be sure to check the playlist in the link below so you can see Project E39 from the very start to today. So in this video we're going to be looking over the parts cost of this project as well as review all of the parts we've replaced, and then we'll finish it up with a first drive of this beautiful machine. So let's go check out the parts spend. So as with any project that I take on from start to finish, I always keep a list of all the parts I buy and the cost of each part, and I separate those parts by the system of the vehicle, just so you can get an idea, for example, how much the engine and the transmission cost to kind of refresh to make a car nice and usable once again. So we'll go through this list section by section, and as always, if you're interested in the exact part list I used, check the description of this video where you can purchase the exact parts list that I use. That parts list has all part numbers and links of where to buy the parts. It'll save you a lot of time and money in the long run. So let's start going through this list. Starting off with the engine section, we have the CCV oil separator kit. That was $140. Then we had the Vanos rebuild kit at $74.99. Then the oil filter housing gasket at $3.95. The oil filter kit at $6.60, and the oil to do an oil change, so Liqui-Moly 5W40. The 5 liter was $37.06, and then the additional 2 liters needed was $16.26. Then we have the Vanos oil feed line at $32.79, and then the valve cover gasket kit at $30.55, and then the engine air filter at $7.55, and then the set of cabin air filters at $19.90. And then I had to get some additional engine cover caps. Some of the ones on the engine were broken or just completely missing, so those came in at $6.38. And then a new intake boot at $15.49. And then I had to get that DISA valve rebuild kit, so that bulletproofs the DISA valve, and that came in at $78.50, bringing the engine system total to $470.87. Moving on to the transmission, there wasn't much to do here other than just switch out the fluid, so 2 quarts of the Redline D4 ATF transmission fluid came out to $26.17. Moving on to the engine cooling system, there's quite a lot of parts involved in this one. The air conditioning accessory belt, $7.29. The water pump, a HEPU branded one, was $38.06. A genuine BMW thermostat was $83.99. 1 gallon of BMW antifreeze, $21.95. Then the AC belt tensioner was $49.89. The idler pulley for the water pump and alternator belt was $14.95. The hydraulic belt tensioner for the alternator belt was $14.95. The spring-loaded accessory belt tensioner was $56.49. The lower radiator hose was $66.32. That was an OEM BMW one. The upper radiator hose was $25.69. And then the replacement radiator was $140.99. The aluminum water pump pulley kit, so replacing that plastic water pump pulley with an aluminum one, was $35.29. And then the new expansion tank was $38.75. And a new expansion tank cap was $19.30. The new auxiliary fan switch was $8.46. And the new hydraulic fan clutch was $69.95, bringing the entire cooling system to $692.32. Moving on to the fuel system, a new genuine BMW fuel cap was $23.65, and a new MAL fuel filter was $47.99, bringing the fuel system total to $71.64. Next is the ignition system. I only had to replace the spark plug, so new NGK spark plugs was $41.05. Moving on to the differential, I just had 2 quarts of 75W90 oil, so $17.68. Moving to steering and alignment, I did get a set of 4 new Continental Extreme Contact DWS 06 tires for $524.76. Then the tire installation, the wheel balance, And then the resulting suspension alignment came out to $262.44, bringing the entire steering and alignment section to $787.20. Moving to exterior items, the paintless dent removal, removing those 3 dents in the body, came out to $250. Getting the driver's door window tint replaced was $75. And then a set of blue water metallic touch-up paint straight from BMW was $29.14. That brings the exterior to $354.14. Moving on to the interior, I had to replace the driver's side rear door sill. That was $63.46. The new shift knob M emblem was $14.50. And the new retractable cup holder was $5.49, bringing the entire interior bill to $83.45. Next is the suspension section. So I bought a 6-piece rear upper control arm kit for $343.27. The front, right, and left tension struts were $93.49 a piece. The front right sway bar end link was $24.49. The front left sway bar end link was $24.49, bringing the entire suspension system to $579.23. Next is the electrical section, where I replaced the radio LCD ribbon, which was $27.73. And then I had to replace one of the angel eye bulbs and the headlight assembly, and that was $21.56. That brings the electrical system to $49.29. Next are the brakes. The rear brake rotor pair was $70.68. The front brake rotor pair were $115.20. The front brake pads were $54.74. The front brake wear sensor was $11.40. The rear brake pads were $37.52. The rear brake pad sensor was $9.74. A quart of brake fluid was $15.60. I got some NICs for all of these components. That was $11.50. And next, the ABS module rubber insulators that mount the ABS unit were $11.85, bringing the brake section to $338.23. So that is all the systems that parts were grouped in. So now we can see the total parts cost of this project. Drum roll, please. The parts total is $3,511.27. It's a pretty big bill for what is just the parts cost. That doesn't include labor at all. But that's not the final cost, obviously. We have some operational expenses such as insurance, inspection, tax, and registration of the vehicle, which comes out to about $170. So really, our project total, not including the purchase price of the vehicle, which I'm not going to disclose here, $3,680.60. There we are. That's how much it costs to fully refresh a fairly low mileage BMW E39. Now with that final figure known, let's go check out all the old parts that have been removed so we can see just a synopsis of all the work that has been done. There we are. What you're looking at here is the equivalent of about $3,000 worth of replaced parts. All of these things were in that car not that long ago. And even with only 60,000 miles, I mean, it's plain to see the wear that is happening on all of these parts and why it's so important to proactively replace them, because almost any one of these could leave you stranded at the side of the road. You have to get in there and replace things to really trust a vehicle. But seeing all the parts consolidated into what is a few square feet right here really puts it into perspective how much work it takes to go through a car. Everything from O-rings to hoses, to hard brake parts, to coolant lines, to filters, to suspension arms. It's all been addressed. Every system on this car has been touched and inspected and replaced where needed. So there we are. Pretty cool to just look it all over. And just like that, Project E39 is now officially complete. I've done everything I intended to do to this car, and wow, what a result we are left with. We have a fine piece of German engineering that genuinely looks like new. When I started this project, I had a car that had good bones. It only had 60,000 miles, but it had been obviously neglected cosmetically and a little bit mechanically. And because of that lower mileage, I was able to turn it back around into the car we can see here today. It really was a diamond in the rough, and I've just polished it up to the beautiful gemstone that it is. I have to say I'm very satisfied with the way this car performs and just looks. They just don't make things like this anymore. I mean, if you want a front engine inline 6 rear-wheel drive sedan with a manual transmission, I mean, it's just not available. It's certainly not available in North America. So this is literally the last of the breed. And what a machine it is. It is so enjoyable to drive, either as a daily driver or even as a sporty back roads machine. It can do both. It's got plenty of power. It's got the perfect amount of power to where it's not overwhelming. It still gets good gas mileage, literally 30 miles per gallon. It just cruises so well on the highway. It's just really a well-balanced, perfect all-around performance sedan. As I went through this project, I found a lot of the common faults with the E39 chassis and the M54 engine, and even designed a few of my own enhancements myself. One of them being the ABS control module heat shield. So again, if you're interested in one of these, I am starting to sell these. So be sure to check the link in the description below if you have a E39 530i and you would like to pick one of these up. Also, if you're interested in going through an E39 yourself, I have the entire parts list linked below, so you can go through it just like I did. Now, it's a bit bittersweet knowing this is the final video in the E39 series, but at least we're left with a nice result, and I can feel satisfied with the outcome here. And I'm sure all of you can too. So as always, thank you all so much for watching and tagging along for this journey. And as always, we will see you on the next one.